Hey, this is Chuck with BMW Blog, and we're taking a final drive with our 2018 BMW i3. So join us as we look back on what we liked and what we didn't like about the car. I guess the biggest question I get asked on the comments in YouTube and on Facebook is why do we keep buying this car? Or why do we keep one of these when you could buy a car with a longer range, like a Model 3, for example? But what I love about the BMW i3 is that it is the ultimate run around town car. We are fortunate in that we have, and this is not our only car, but this is the car we want to take around city. This is one that we take to run to the grocery store, to run to the coffee shop. Nothing has the turning radius of this. It is absolutely ridiculous, and how little space you need to make a U-turn, how easy it is to park. Though the i3 appears impractical, nothing could be further from the truth. We have not ever failed to get everything from Costco jammed into this car with its suicide doors and its hatchback aspect. The only downside is that the front trunk is actually really not very useful except for your Chinese takeout for a gallon of milk, and it is not even weatherproof. We love it because of the utility, the reliability, and the overall efficiency of it is just amazing. For us, we can get a little over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which in Tesla speak is about 250 watts per mile. It is just super efficient, and it has lightweight materials. It has carbon fiber reinforced plastic body structure. The efficiency, however, starts to decrease the faster you go. Around town it's great. Once you get out on the open interstate and once you start getting over 70 miles per hour, the i3 is not as aerodynamic. Going to and from work and around town in any kind of weather, no matter the heat or the cold, I've never had an issue with range, though we do plug in every single night and charge fully for the next day. It takes about 5 hours to charge this one from dead at home. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The high today was 25 and the low was 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and went over 90 miles on a charge, which to me is really pretty impressive for a 33 kilowatt hour battery, which is what BMW put in the 2018 i3S. If you know the BMW i3, it came out in 2014, and between 2014 and 2017 it really wasn't any different in terms of how it looked. And then in 2018 they did the life cycle impulse, or the model refresh, which is what this car is. And then we got the sport version of this, which includes a wider rear track, a little lowered stance, and in my opinion a lot better handling, a little better traction control, which I really don't notice except for when the weather's bad like it's been lately and we're driving a lot in the snow. One thing you will notice if you own one of these in the winter, I've never owned a car that fogs up on the inside as much as this one, and I don't know if it's the size or the advanced materials in the car or what, but the interior fogs quite a bit. And even if you're trying to just use the seat heaters and save the battery, invariably we end up having to run the defroster just to get rid of the fog on the inside of the car. And some people had it's so bad that it actually iced up. As far as reliability goes, the i3s, both of them for us, have been incredibly reliable. There have been different things that I wouldn't have anticipated, and that is, number one, that they love to eat tires, specifically the rear tires. It likes to put all that torque down in the rear tires and burn through the rears quite a bit. And I think in the two cars that I've owned, I've probably put 2 sets of snows and 3 sets of street tires on the cars for, is absolutely crazy. You're lucky to get 20,000 miles out of a set of rears. And I don't drive all that aggressively, but tire wear is something you will be surprised with. And I've also been surprised by how many flats I've had in this car. The only other reliability issue I've had in this, and we had it in both of our i3s, is that door hardware. The panels are so light, and when they close they must rattle the doors quite a bit, and they will eventually, you need to adjust the door handles, and we have a video on that up here if you want to see that. It's really easy to do, and I even did it on this as opposed to take it in. But if you don't, eventually the door handle will get so loose that it'll actually pull out. We use it year round. You can see right now that it's the weather's been terrible lately. It hasn't been over freezing in almost 2 weeks now, and that's the warning chime that it's below 37 degrees out. But I thought I would tell you that it's still usable in weather like this. It certainly helps to be able to charge it at home, and we have a garage, and it's certainly made living with it a lot easier, especially in weather like this. I think if you don't have access to somewhere to charge it every day, when it gets to -9 degrees Fahrenheit, which is crazy cold, you know, they're harder to use for sure. But we haven't had any issues with it in the cold weather. Even though the i3 is rear-wheel drive, I've had no trouble driving this thing year-round, and our city gets about 25 to 30 inches of snow in a year. I do really feel like it's super important in these cars to have really good tires on it, and we've used a couple different types of snow tires on this. We've used Nokian Hakkapeliitas, which are probably my favorite, and we currently are on a set of Bridgestone Blizzaks right now. Blizzaks seem to be a little better on the freeway. The Nokians tend to be a little bit better on the ice and the really bad stuff. But either one will suffice as long as they're in good shape. The only other knock I have on the BMW i3 in the winter is that this steering wheel can get super cold, and I don't know why they don't heat the steering wheel. And if you have passengers in the rear seats and the i3 are not heated either, which, you know, for a BMW luxury car, I don't know why that's not an option, really. We just recently made a 240-mile trip up to see some eagles and go through a national park. And it was rather interesting because we chose to do it in December in the Midwest in the winter. However, in order to do the trip, we did have to hit a DC charger twice, once on the way out and once on the way back. DC charging runs at about 50 kilowatts per hour, and in a 33 kilowatt hour battery pack, that goes pretty fast. However, it is still way behind where Tesla and Porsche are in terms of the speed of their DC charging. As the sun was setting us on our way back home, active cruise control doesn't really like it if the sun hits the front windshield at just the right angle. It disengages, gets angry, and then won't re-engage. I don't miss the oil changes. The only thing you really have to do to it is about every 2 years you have to have the brake fluid flush. And they'll do a software update. The software in this has been updated once, you know, in 38 months. The other knock that I'd have is on the cruise control. I don't really care for, it has active cruise control, but compared to the Tesla, it's really antiquated. It has 3 settings on the gap between cars, and it doesn't really remember every time you restart the car what gap you like, whether it's 1 car length, 2 car length, or 3 car lengths. You have to tell it every single time you drive the car, okay, I want to be closer, because if not, everybody and their brother jumps in front of you on the freeway on the way to work. The difference between the 2014 and the 2018 i3 is that the brake energy regeneration is not as strong in this one, and I think consequently they were able to remove part of the freewheeling I would get if I would hit a pothole or something and I was slowing down in the old one. That really went away with the 2018 one. The electric motor one just sounds so cool. Really, it's been the ultimate around town car for us. This is a car that my wife and I fight over to take to the grocery store, to take to work, to run around town, to take downtown, to park anywhere. It's fabulous. The only place we don't really like to take this car is on a big road trip, because the DC charging at 50 kilowatts, there aren't that many, and with the battery being 33 kilowatt hours, you're not going to get that much range. We really haven't suffered from any range loss, although the biggest range loss I think you're going to notice in the car is when it's like right now and it's cold and you have to keep using the heat. The electric i3 has a heat pump that in the US comes standard, at least in 2018. Now they're optional. and they work fantastic in the cold weather, and they're still really efficient. Anyway, I hope that answers your questions on why we decided to stick with the i3, why we like it so much despite its shortcomings. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.